You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Last week, we spent like an entire segment of the podcast saying things like, well, you know, he's in AA now. It's a very advanced level. I'm sure he'll stick it out there for probably the majority of the season. Maybe even if he struggles, he'll go back to high A. There's no way that he's going up to the big leagues. And then Juan Soto proves us wrong. And now we have welcomed you into this week's edition of the Show Before the Show podcast with zero credibility left. Thanks.
I was going to say, yeah, who's ready for more content from us? The wrong guys.
The guys who don't get anything correct.
What was that movie a couple of years ago? It was Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, The Nice Guys.
Yeah, The Nice Guys. That was a good one.
Very good.
I like that movie.
Very rewatchable movie, but everything goes wrong for them, and like things are just bad. Like that's how I envision us now.
Yeah, after last week, we're kind of we're bad luck Brian's here on the show. Well, maybe we're good luck, bro. We're certainly good luck for Juan Soto, saying, well, there's no way he's going to climb above this. He's already been in low A and high A and double A. I'll probably stick it out there for a while. And we lied to you, and we apologize. And with that, we welcome you into this week's episode, the 161st of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. My name is Tyler Mon. He is Sam Dykstra. We're talking all things minor league baseball. Thanks for tuning in wherever you found us. And if you can, leave us a rating and a review and a subscription. It helps us out with getting new nerds like you to tune into the show. And our favorite kinds of nerds, obviously. And which, if you've missed out on past episodes of the show, you can find them at MILB.com/podcast, as well as on iTunes Podcasts and Google Play and the Stitcher app and everywhere else you find podcasts. Just don't, if you're listening for a Juan Soto preview, you could probably just skip over last week. So with that, hey, it's Three Strikes. We're talking about the top three topics in minor league baseball this week, and one of them, as shocked as you will be, is Juan Soto, the second-ranked prospect in the Washington Nationals organization, who jumps to the major leagues already, his fourth stop on the way this season to his long-time, you would think, major league career at this stage. Started off at low A Hagerstown, Class A Advanced Potomac, Double A Harrisburg. Now he's in the major leagues at 19 years old, homered in his debut. He's already got 3 games under his belt. He's hitting an even .500 through his first 6 major league at-bats. This certainly, as you could tell if you listened to the show last week, catches us a little bit off guard. I mean, he was going great in Hagerstown, was going great in Potomac, and started great in Harrisburg. But to make that jump, to go straight from Double A to the big leagues, this is like there's nobody in the game of baseball. It's hotter right now than Juan Soto.
Yeah, no, not at all. And it's very cool to see because it just answers these questions of, well, what if we just threw this guy in the majors? Like, what would actually happen? You know, I do those, those projection pieces, those steamer pieces at the beginning of each year. And I don't normally put anybody in there unless they have reached Double A yet or they're a top 100 prospect. And even when they're a top 100 prospect who hasn't reached Double A, you know, the projections are always look bad. And I just do that to show you, listen, this is extremely difficult. This is, you know, a guy to get 600 plate appearances in the major leagues, to jump straight from high A. It's not going to go well. But Soto is just such a special talent, and this is a special situation. You know, the Nats have their fair share of injury problems. Adam Eaton's on the shelf again. Howie Kendrick is out for a good long time. I think he might be out for the year. Their outfield depth, which looked like a good thing at the beginning of the year, is now severely depleted. And they probably, you know, Mike Rizzo, GM, he's called up 19-year-olds before. People talked about this all weekend, all week coming into this. He brought up Bryce Harper at age 19. He brought up Justin Upton when he was that young. This is a guy who is willing to trust young talent when he really sees it and really likes it. This is not a one-size-fits-all scenario by any means. You know, I'm not saying every 19-year-old outside of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. should be called up right away just because they do. You heard it
here first. Sam Dykstra says all 19-year-olds belong in the major leagues. You heard it here first.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Let's try it. I'm just saying, let's just try it. Let's see what happens. It'll be fun
just
for 2 weeks. Just see what it can
be like. Why not?
Everybody will either have ERAs of 9 and above or averages of 150 and below. But yeah, it'll be fun. But Soto has done everything he could to make this happen, essentially. If there was going to be a road that Juan Soto was going to start a game for the Washington Nationals on May 21st, he was going to have to rip through Hagerstown, rip through Potomac, make a very, very short stop at Harrisburg, and then have some injuries happen along the way. But his homer in that first start of the first pitch, first swing, all that good stuff over the weekend was really, really, really cool. I think that was on Monday that happened. But that was so really awesome. And if you haven't seen the video, I know Chelsea Janes of the Washington Post tweeted this. If you haven't seen the video of the Dominican complex, where Juan Soto once played and, where he came up through, they showed his first game at the Dominican complex. And if you thought the stadium in Washington was going nuts, the complex was going crazy after he hit that homer. It's not easy to home run in the major leagues. It's not easy to go the opposite way like he did. But this is a special kid, and he showed it the next day as well. It's not just hitting home runs, although he's doing that at a special rate this year. He also, the next day against the Padres, went 1 for 1, singled in his only official at-bat, and walked in 3 others. He knows that he doesn't need to swing at everything. They're going to try to get him to chase. It doesn't mean he has to absolutely do that. It speaks to his advanced approach up there, how well he sees the ball, even when it's coming out of a major league hand. What's going to happen to him going forward is, as more information comes in, we'll keep an eye on that and all that. But he's up there to stay. They want him as their starting left fielder. They looked at their outfield situation, determined he is maybe the third best outfielder in the entire system. And when you're the Washington Nationals and you're, kind of not where you expected to be at the beginning of the year, right now they trail the Braves by 3 games. They trail the Phillies by a game and a half. They they're a half a game up with the New York Mets. That NL East is more crowded than people were expecting. And the Nats certainly weren't expecting to be in third. So it's kind of all hands on deck, especially in this last year of Bryce Harper free agency. Why not bring up Juan Soto? I'm sure they would have preferred it to be Victor Robles, but he's also injured right now, and it's going to be a while till he gets back. So use the talent you have, and to see him take to the major leagues and show everybody what we've seen in the minors this quickly has been so, so exciting.
Not just Juan Soto making the climb to the major leagues either. This is like a promotion day around the big leagues, at least in terms of recording a podcast for all of this promotion news. Yesterday was really the big promotion day, but not just at the major league level, although guys like Willy Adames going up to make major league debuts, but Joe Adell promoted in the minor league system of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Nick Gordon climbs up to AAA in the Twins system. There are a lot of guys being pushed right now, and I think this is sort of one of the first stages of the season where we see it. We're about 6 weeks in. Guys who have succeeded to begin the year are going to be tested at the next level. And the next wave that we'll get will be right around the midway point, all-star game time and all that, the pause in the middle of the minor league season. But there are a lot of guys who are making that jump right now.
Yeah, and I think it kind of speaks to, and we'll get into this more in Strike 3, but I did a tool shed today of, there just seem to be certain organizations that are pushing prospects more aggressively to begin the year. But Joe Adell certainly fits right into that. And, I would not have expected to see him make the jump to Class A Advanced Inland Empire this quickly. I looked back last year. Well, I looked back at last year's class for the 2017 draft class. Of all the high school picks made in that first round, Adell was one of them. He's the quickest to move up. He's the quickest to get to Class A Advanced. That's not exactly what I would have predicted at the beginning of the year. I thought it might have been Royce Lewis, who, number 1 overall pick, so he has that going for him, obviously, but had some Class A experience last year. Still could move up pretty quickly, and we shouldn't judge him against Adell, but the fact that the Angels are pushing him this quick, is very interesting. And again, we'll get more into that later in the show. But 6 home runs, a OPS above 1,000 in 25 games. If you were to tell me Adell was going to be moving up to the Cal League at the end of May, what did he need to do? Well, he needed to show a little bit of power. He needed to show a little bit of speed. He's done all that. He's shown a better hit tool than I thought he had to begin the year, he's hitting 326 at Burlington before the call-up. So this is really astonishing to me. There was only one high school pick last year making his one. I need to get the qualifiers down on this because there are a few of them. The only first-round high school pick from the 2016 draft who moved up to Class A Advanced in 2017, and that was Forrest Whitley, who we know ended the year in AA last year, and before his drug-related suspension, was considered one of the best pitching prospects in all of baseball. Still is. Drug-related suspension doesn't seem related to PEDs anyway, so he should be fine when he comes back. But he was one of the breakout stars of last year. If Adele can even come close to following Whitley's track as a hitter, he's going to be a really, really special talent by the end of the year. And, it's exciting to see him get pushed. You mentioned Adames. Nick Gordon also got promoted yesterday. Those two guys, not nearly as surprising, I would say. Nick Gordon played all of last year at AA Chattanooga. Was really surprised to see him back in Chattanooga this year. Had started to show a lot more power this year. He was actually third in the Southern League with a .525 slugging percentage. His .906 OPS would have absolutely wrecked his career high for that, which is in the 700s. So he certainly earned it. He's been at AA long enough. I thought he could have even moved up quicker than that, but after 164 games of AA action, he moves up. Adames, he moves up to Tampa Bay. Maybe by the time you hear this, if you hear it over the weekend, he might be back in AAA Durham. He's just up because Joey Wendell hits the paternity leave list. He's expected to only be away 3 days. Adames already on the 40-man easy call-up, slot him into the shortstop position. He's already hitting home runs off Chris Sale. But again, he has 170 games of AAA experience. So not as exciting in terms of like, ooh, this is, surprising things can be exciting. But to see Adames, again, show everything we've seen out of him at the minor league level, show it on the big stage against a Cy Young contender is really, really cool. And, I hope he does enough to leave a good impression and make the Rays really think about what is kind of a crowded infield with them, with Wendell and Adeiny Hechavarria, who's on the DL right now but could be coming back. And I know Daniel Robertson's having a good year, but Willie Adames, they really think is their shortstop of the future. So they're getting a little quick taste of that this week.
And strike three this week, we continue along kind of in the same vein as this conversation, and we're going to talk about the Angels organization. That system has started to really turn out some interesting talent, and obviously at the major league level this year, I think the Angels have turned things around faster than people expected just looking at the last few seasons, but the addition of Shohei Ohtani will do that for you. But looking on the minor league side for the Angels right now, Joe Adele gets promoted. Friend of the podcast, Michael Hermosillo, has made the jump to the major leagues. There are guys on the move in that system right now. What do you make of that, the Angels and all their moves, where they are in that race, how the minor league talent continues to impact the major league club right now that's in that AL West race, and just what's going on in that system at the moment?
Yeah, I think they are, they started to pick up more lottery tickets, essentially. We've talked about this system in the past of it being like basically after Mike Trout graduated and maybe even Cole Calhoun, there was really not much talent here to speak of. Sean Newcomb was their best prospect for a couple of years. Andrew Heaney, the same thing. Newcomb especially. They traded him to the Braves for Andrelton Simmons, and that's worked out pretty good. Simmons is one of the best shortstops in the game now. Newcomb is slotting himself pretty well into the Atlanta rotation, but there really hasn't been this kind of exciting group of prospects until this year. Ohtani was technically a prospect, but he's graduated now, and that's fine, and we won't count him in this list. But Adele's having a really strong season, as we already mentioned. Brandon Marsh, who I was excited to see get kind of a full season after he's had some injury issues and last year played at rookie level Orem. He's become a top 100 prospect, and they moved him up to Inland Empire after only 34 games when he hit .295 with an .859 OPS, 3 homers, and 4 steals. I could keep going down the list. Griffin Canning was their first-round pick last year. He's already at AA Mobile after getting just a few starts at Inland Empire. Matt Thace, Hermosillo, who you mentioned. Jose Suarez might be the breakout prospect of the season in that system. He leads the minor leagues right now in strikeouts with 69.
In 38 and 2/3 innings, something like that?
That's exactly correct.
Ridiculous.
It's absolutely nuts. There's kind of rumors right now that he's made 7 starts at AA Mobile. He started the year at Class A Advanced Inland Empire. His next start could be at AAA Salt Lake. We'll have to keep an eye out on that. But he struck out 11 in each of his last 2 starts. So as this Angels system, like I said, they're just getting a lot of lottery tickets, and a lot of them are hitting right now. When you get an interesting group of talent, I think they're just kind of getting lucky in that all these guys are doing well, extremely well, and they're willing to test them, which is really interesting. In aggressive ways that the Angels just haven't been able to do before. But it is, again, we'll see how this works out the rest of the year. The fact that they are being this aggressive with these guys and not just saying like, hey, listen, we know you're good. We're going to let you be good as long as we can, and then we'll reassess later. No, they want to see what can happen. They want to keep sharpening these guys and challenging them and maybe see them fail a little bit so they can make those adjustments quicker. If they're not failing, then they can't change, and that's how you learn bad habits and all that. So, really interesting group with the Angels right now, and really fascinating that they're willing to test these guys. Will it fail? Will it work out? Will they adjust on the fly? Will they even need to adjust? Like Suarez hasn't needed to adjust at all at AA Mobile. He's still striking guys out left and right. This is how this Angel system is going to get even better, and we can talk about it getting close to, if it's not already there, as a top 10 system in baseball.
Which, if you would have told us 2 years ago that we were going to say on this podcast that Angel system could be a top 10 system in baseball, and had us project how long down the road will it be before you say that, I don't think we would have said 2 years. I think we would have said maybe give them 5 years and make some major changes. But that system is really, they have rebounded extremely quickly. And to be having success at the major league level and then all of a sudden have all of these pieces at the minor league level, they have turned themselves in from a barren organization minor league-wise to a really, really fruitful organization minor league-wise. And that's exciting to see. So that is 3 strikes for this week's edition of the Show Before the Show. This is one of the episodes everybody loves, and that it's all Sam on the interview, and you don't have to listen to me. Sam, what give us a little preview?
Yeah, so this week I talked to number 10 prospect in the Boston Red Sox system, CJ Chatham. Wanted to talk to him because we do these interviews on Wednesday. On Tuesday night, he hit his first career grand slam, which I thought was notable. I wrote about it in the Prospect Roundup, but wanted to get a little bit more out of him. So I thought the podcast would be kind of perfect for that. There's a guy who was a second-round pick back in 2016, ended up signing for $1.1 million out of Florida Atlantic. Not exactly a huge program, but a Conference USA program, whatever. He's the highest ever pick out of Florida Atlantic. So a little expectations on those shoulders. And again, when you're signing for 7 figures, that'll do it too. But he's had injury problems year in and year out through his first 3 minor league seasons. He had a broken hamate bone in 2016, shortly after the draft. You'll hear about him talk about this on the podcast. He had hamstring injuries all last year, could never really get going. Now he's up at Class A Advanced Salem, started the year at Class A Greenville. They moved him up after 19 games. He's been with Salem for the last 10 games, hitting .313 on the year, 2 homers, a triple, 9 doubles, an .805 OPS between both spots. Is doing everything. He's showing health. You'll hear him talk about this as well. He's a 6'4" shortstop, which is kind of crazy. Normally guys don't stick there, but he's going to try to do that. He's just getting into playing shortstop again after some other injury issues at the beginning of the year. But this is a Red Sox system right now that Jay Groom is out for the year with Tommy John surgery. Michael Chavis is still serving his own suspension. Tanner Houck has really struggled as their first-round pick. They need some optimism in their Red Sox system. So Chatham showing some health and showing some production is certainly bringing that out of the number 10 spot. So this is my conversation with him. Well, joining us this week on the Minor League Baseball podcast is Red Sox prospect CJ Chatham, joining us from his time right now with Class A Advanced Salem. CJ, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks again so much. So let's get into the very positive news right now. Last night, You're playing a game in Frederick. You hit your first, I think it's your first career Grand Slam. How does that kind of feel to get into it that way and kind of check that box off your list?
Good. Yeah, it feels great to get to experience that. Especially in advance. So to get that off the list has been pretty special.
Yeah, and over your last 4 games, you have 2 home runs. They're your first 2 of the season. You started the year at Class A Greenville, get the move up to Class A Advanced Salem. It seems like you're starting to get a little bit locked in. Like I said, 2 homers your last 4 games, 7 hits over that span as well. How do you feel like things are kind of clicking right now, and how are you able to get into the swing of things, through mid-May?
Very nicely, honestly. Earlier in the season, in low, I was using the opposite field a lot. And I was working so much on that kind of my left side of the field, I wasn't getting the ball flight I wanted, and working with the coaches and hitting coaches both at low A and high A has really they've been great with me, helped me get back to the left side, and now I'm using the whole field, which is where I wanted to be, so it feels great.
Yeah, and when did it feel like things were finally clicking in terms of, like you said, trying to use your pull power a little bit more? Was it after that promotion to Salem? Was it a little before that? When did it kind of click in for you?
It was pretty much right when about a week into when I got to Salem. I started getting some good ball flights to left field, and they were falling in mid center, left, right, and I've been pretty much recently using it all, which is pretty good for me.
Yeah, very cool. So going back to where you are now, kind of compared to how you feel, where you are physically, where you are mentally, to where you were a year ago. For those that don't know, last year was supposed to be your first full season in the Sox system. You were taken in the second round, 2016, experienced some hamstring issues. I think around May is when you got your 1 game in with Greenville before the hamstring issues came back. Where are you now compared to last year in terms of physicality, mentally, the whole thing?
Just a complete turnaround. I think mentally I've been there the whole time. Wasn't really listening to what people have to say, because obviously it's not good when you're out a whole year. But definitely now I feel like everything's working physically 100%, moving better. Hamstrings finally cleared up, and yeah, so definitely just a complete turnaround. I feel good in every aspect.
Yeah, and when you say the hamstring is cleared up, what kind of work went into that? What was the official diagnosis that allowed these issues to keep popping up last year so consistently?
Initially it was a pull. They thought it was a pull, and maybe it was. So we just rehabbed it and did whatever we had to do, and it just never really got to 100%. And then it just every time I'd rehab over a long period of time, and when I would feel like when it would be time to give it a go, I guess it it just wasn't 100%, and I guess that blames on me. I guess I don't know what happened, but then eventually at the end of the season with like a month left, I was in a rehab game and playing it on my left foot on a ground ball coming in, and it just kind of shocked the whole left hamstring again, and I said, hey, I gotta get this looked at, and then got the MRI. There was a partial tear, so it said it was new, and they just shut me down for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and how did that kind of change your second off season? I mean, you've gone through one before, trying to prepare for a first full season, something you'd never done before, and then there's obviously nothing really full about it. What did you do differently this off season to kind of stay out there, as long as you have so far? No injuries so far, at least knock on wood. But what was different about this last off season?
With agility, strength and agility and stuff like that. It's like I took to do the program that they give, and then on the side of that, I worked on a lot of agilities and stuff, and mainly agilities and stuff like that. Quick starts, moving side to side, and honestly, some running some routes, football, making it fun, just stuff like that. Obviously no contact or anything like that, but just kind of running, doing stuff like that, and mainly side to side, working on those movements, and that definitely I think strengthened my hamstring and got me to where I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you just started your first game at shortstop for at least Salem. I know you got a couple games in with Greenville. What's kind of been the decision-making process in that, and what kind of discussions have you had in terms of getting back out there as a fielder and getting back your feet back under you as a shortstop?
It's been good. The training staff have been very good with me. They've been, we've communicated well, and they want to slowly get me back into it after all that I went through last year and stuff. But now getting back at short, obviously there's some things I got to clean up just because I've been out there so long. But it's definitely a good feeling to be able to get back out there and show what I can do.
Mm-hmm. And was in your conversations with the Sox or trainers, whatever, was all this just precautionary in terms of keeping you at DH to start the year and kind of easing you into it, or is there something else involved there?
There was a little bit of during the third day of spring training, I threw a double cut in, and it kind of was sore, and that soreness, it kind of was like there was a little bit of an impingement in my shoulder, and I was trying to give it a go through spring training and through the first 4 or 5 games of the season. And after the one where I started DHing is when I was like, I got to take some 3 weeks off or whatever and just get it. And now I feel back to 100%. But it was a little bit of a shoulder impingement, and I never had shoulder problems really ever. So that was just one thing. It was like a mini scare, but got the MRI and they just said it was an impingement. Now it's 100%.
Cool. Well, glad to hear it. And you went back to before when we were talking about mentally going through these injuries. When you add shoulder to that list, does it help having gone through this before? I mean, you don't wish that on anybody, obviously, but how do you kind of emotionally handle injuries and trying to stay up on it so when you do come back like you did this year, you can kind of hit the ground running?
I would say just stay the course. Don't listen to what people have to say. People say does he want to play? It's like that's not even a question. And in your mind, and I knew. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna do whatever I can. Because in college, I missed I think 1 game, so I'm always gonna be out there if I can. And I would just say, you know who you are. You know what you can do. Just don't change and work on it. Definitely while that stuff happening, work on something. For me, it was in this past off season, just the mental side of hitting. I'm not a big, I know if I'm under a ball and I can make a change on my swing every single pitch. So that my thing was this off season, I'm gonna really watch games. I got a lot of time to watch games and stuff and really see what pitchers try and do, and definitely mentally just locking in and knowing what you're going to do every single pitch and having a plan. And it's going to change but for me, it's when I do change it every pitch, I'm going to lock in and I'm not going to throughout that whole pitch, there's no second guessing, but never mind, so it's just staying true to what you think at that moment and what you're going to do. And for me, that's been huge.
And when you say you were watching video during the off season, was it your own stuff from rehab games? I mean, where were you getting that video from?
It was mainly I would watch my home runs, videos of my home runs, and see where I'm making contact. And I was really out in front, and they would go far, but I wasn't making I was striking out, swinging at sliders, and it's I would always think, how are the big leaguers? Where are they making contact? And I would watch video and see Chris Bryant, guys like that. They're hitting the ball deep, they're letting it get deep, they're on their back knee more. And now I'm all right, well, I'm going to stay on my back knee, and that's really allowed me to actually see pitches better, see it deeper, and it makes a huge difference when you're moving forward as opposed to staying back and letting it travel and still having the ability to drive the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and going on to the other side of the ball now, going back to your work at shortstop, one of the discussions about you is you're 6'4", you're listed at 185. It's pretty big for a shortstop, but everybody thinks you can kind of stick there. I know you've played a little bit all over the place, even going back to high school, left field, third base, whatever. But what do you feel like you need to do to kind of stick there, and how much do you want to stick at the shortstop position going forward in your career?
I want to stay there as long as possible, but I think what I need to work on is just consistent on the routine plays, the plays that are the crazy ones. Those kind of take care of themselves. But just the routine plays are just stick in, keeping your glove quiet. Foxy does a great job. Helping us with that. Every day. So that he's a big fundamentals guy, and that's definitely what I just want to keep hammering to where like the routine plays are made every time.
Yeah, and going back, like I said, I know you played multiple positions before, and part of that I read was you played left field once because the shortstop on the team was Luis Guillorme, who everybody knows is now with the Mets. What was it like watching him, and what kind of pointers were you able to pick up from him? I know he has some of the best hands when he was in the minors. I loved watching him play shortstop, but when you were on the same team, I think it was summer ball, what were you able to pick up from him, at least defensively?
Well, with him, it's we play a complete different type of short. But ever since ever since the first time I saw him play short, you just knew that whatever he had, it was special, and like he just basically, it had no relevance to my game, but so it was hard to really pick up stuff that he did. But just watching him, you just knew like, wow, he's gonna be special. Like he has incredible hands and does stuff that other guys can't. And I just I couldn't really take it into my game just because I'm just different. But yeah, no, so just honestly, didn't really take a lot out of his game, but getting to watch him was definitely fun, and seeing what he's doing now is awesome.
Right, yeah, I'm sure that's easier said than done, of just being like, yeah, just have his hands and you'll be fine. But when you say,
exactly.
When you guys have different styles of shortstop, how would you describe your style specifically?
I guess you would say he's more of a quick hand, get it out, in and out, faster. And I'm more like, secure it and then, make a strong throw. And that's, I kind of, with my arm, that's how I make up for, I still believe I have quick hands, but like, just, the hands that he has, it's just like, that's how I make up for it, is just having strong, accurate throws, how I think.
Right. Yeah, and I know coming out of high school in Florida, some teams were thinking about taking you as a pitcher. Obviously, you went to Florida Atlantic as a position player. That worked out pretty well for you going in the second round a couple years back. But what was your time like at Florida Atlantic? I know you were the highest player ever picked in the draft coming out of that school. At what point during your college career did it feel like you were putting together something special and would eventually kind of take up that mantle?
I would definitely. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was unbelievable. 3 years there. The coaches were great. I thank Coach Mack for everything. Honestly, he was extremely good to me. Player coach, which I love, and just he definitely, even without baseball, like he kind of he did multiple things for me that really helped me mature as a person and as a player.
What do you feel like is the biggest contribution that you still maybe use today then that you were able to take up from your 3 years there?
I think just maturity. I was very mature going there, and he kind of like told me, hey, this is what it takes to be a pro. Like he would just kind of tell me like the things that I need to know. How and as a coach, like helping me on the field. If you make an error, it's like he'd come up to me and be like, hey, what happened there? You don't usually do that. Looked like I took a bad hop. Just keep my confidence will always be at 100% with him, because it was never like give me a dirty look. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a player coach especially with me, and would kind of be like treat me as a friend, which I really, really needed. Like I love when a coach is very like understanding and hey, like I know you're better. Like that doesn't usually happen. Like it's probably won't happen again. Like that kind of stuff.
Oh, cool. Very cool. All right, so
yeah.
we'll end on this one, CJ. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but given the way everything's kind of coming into place now, like we said, first Grand Slam yesterday, you're now playing shortstop again. You're at high A, which is probably where a lot of people expected you to be at some point this year. When you kind of look forward to how you hope the next 3-4 months go of your, hopefully a full season, what would a successful 2018 look like for you?
I don't really set any goals. There's no, where they'll put me. Stuff that's out of my hands. I can't control it. But I definitely, to be successful, I just want to, stick to the approach that I have. Do everything in each and every day, with a purpose, and don't give away at bats, and stay healthy. That's just my main goals. And whatever happens, and I'm just gonna do whatever I can to help whatever team I end up with.
All right, so kind of using that same rubric, then, how do you feel like these first 7 weeks of the season have gone? Are you, when you were laying out exactly what you would have thought, according to what you just said, do you feel like these 7 weeks have been successful, or are there some things you still would have changed?
I would say it's successful, but there's still things that I'm still giving away at bats and stuff like that against pitchers. You try and get big against the pitcher you don't think is as good, and then you all of a sudden you find yourself over 2, over 3 when those are guys you got to really get your hits against. I think I've kind of need to focus up on that more, but I'd say successful. Out there, healthy. Yeah, that's all I need.
Right.
So.
Right. All right. Well, CJ Chatham, the number 10 prospect in the Red Sox system, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck the rest of the way down there with Salem and wherever else 2018 takes you.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we now live in a post-royal wedding world, and we bring in Benjamin Hill to. We'll get to that. We'll get to that coming up in a little bit. Ben, did you watch it?
I didn't watch a single moment of it. I'm a proud American, so I only deal with American news and events and endeavors.
But it was half American.
American wedding. That's true.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Oh, well,
if nothing else, watch the pastor speak. Was amazing. The sermon I thought was excellent.
Oh, so Sam watched.
Well, I watched that actually.
Okay.
I had something going on Saturday morning, but
I feel like if it was on TV at a normal hour, I might have flipped it on. But I'm not gonna wake up I don't wake up in the morning to do anything, so I'm not gonna. Come on. Who schedules a
I caught the
wedding at
highlights.
6 a.m.? Just kidding. That was a @FauxPellini joke on Twitter. Let's dive into it. Benjamin Hill is here to discuss the business of baseball and all other things in the minor leagues. And Ben was on the road at Trenton as his latest road venture, and the Trenton Thunder, Arm and Hammer Ballpark, the home spot of the Trenton Thunder, which you've been to before, but not for a little while. Tell us about the sojourn through Trenton.
Yeah, this is one of the few ballparks that based here in New York City I can get to on public transportation, and I've been as a fan a couple times in the last couple of years. Just fan mode I call it as a civilian. But I had not been there since 2012 in Ben's biz mode, so it was long overdue. And I picked this date for a reason that I visited Friday, May 18th, because it was the first time that the Trenton Thunder suited up as the pork roll, and they will do so now every Friday home game for the remainder of the season. But this is the pork roll debut, so I kind of wanted to see what that was like. What it was like to have a pork roll extravaganza. The first 1,000 fans or so got pork roll aprons. There is a pork roll only concession stand at the ballpark, with different products, all with pork roll as a primary ingredient. I interviewed the CEO of Case, a prominent pork roll manufacturer, up in his luxury box, because of course the CEO of a pork roll company is always living large. And then beyond the pork roll elements, it was just an action-packed night at the ballpark. Made more action-packed by the fact that the game was like 2 hours and 5 minutes. And it's kind of funny how I operate professionally, how much is given over to the whims of just how long a game takes and what I can do or not do. So I did not have time to run as an eyeball in the eyeball race because it just was too busy of an evening. But some great pork roll items at the designated eater. In the bottom of the first inning, I got to hang out with Rookie the Bat Dog as he actually performed his duties, and got some good footage there, and so on and so forth. So another great night at the ballpark, and this is the last trip of what I'm considering a trip. Over the last 3 weekends, I went to different ballparks, and Trenton wrapped up this northeast portion of my 2018 itinerary.
And with it being the first night of them being the pork roll, do you feel like there was a buzz there? I mean, kind of compare it to what you went to the first time or what you have. Times you've been to Trenton before, like you said, just as a fan, was there a real buzz created by this?
I mean, I think there was. I mean, it did not rain, but the forecast, especially the day before, was really bad. It cleared up somewhat. They got the game in, but it was played in about 60 or high 50 degree weather, windy, kind of cloudy. So I'm sure that took a little chunk out of how energetic it was. But it was still, I've been to the Thunder, either professionally or as a fan, many times. I actually went to Thunder games in their very early seasons because my dad lives in that area. And this was one of the most just energetic evenings I'd ever seen there. And the pork roll concession stand, was just slammed, where it was just all through the concourse. I mean, people, it is a stereotype, but it's true. I mean, people in New Jersey really, really love pork roll. And, also with, Rookie and how popular he is, and Nick Swisher and Hideki Matsui were at the ballpark, I guess in their role as roving Yankee greats. So there was just a lot going on, and a really good energy. And I think especially as the weather gets warmer, school's out, and they keep doing this and get some momentum with it, I think these are really going to be action-packed nights at the ballpark. So if you live in this area or you're traveling, planning your own minor league ballpark trip, and if you're thinking about the Thunder, I would highly recommend not going to see the Thunder, but going to see the pork roll every Friday.
There's been the conversation, I think, on a national level with the food-related things. I saw a tweet when Buffalo announced that they would become the Wings, as was one of the identities that was kind of a no-brainer out of the gate when the food-related stuff started happening. Somebody tweeted like, oh, if you thought the minor league food craze was over, you're in luck. There's another one, kind of a sarcastic thing. But I think at the local level, people don't really view it that way. I think people view it as like, oh, this is cool. This is something that's unique to our team, to our region, and our area. Did you get that sense in Trenton that people are like, man, this is awesome, they're doing something like this?
Yeah, absolutely. And even talking to the CEO of the pork roll company, it just never occurs to people that this could actually happen. And I think not just with the food identities, but pretty much any minor league baseball promotional trend for individuals such as ourselves, and I'm sure many of our listeners, we're in the minority that we keep track of this nationally and know when something's a trend, and maybe know when something's been overdone nationally. But I'd say the vast majority of fans don't know and don't necessarily care what other teams are doing. So if their team is doing it for the first time, that's all that matters. So I think it's important for us sometimes people on social media and whatnot to keep that perspective, to realize that you're making this decision first and foremost for your local fan base. Yes, it's great if you have a product, with merch that gets people's attention and you get orders from all over. But at the end of the day, a food identity or any other promotion is going to be a success because it's a success in the local market. And, to that regard, it doesn't matter, how much it's been done or hasn't been done. It just matters that it's successful and that the fans, appreciate it. And I definitely think they appreciate it in Trenton because, again, pork roll is huge. And
you got a story coming up from one of your other trips, one of your other trips on this kind of, what'd you call it, like weeks long?
Yeah, it's like a segmented road trip.
Right.
It's like one trip but spread out over 3 weekends.
Right. So you, as part of that, you went to Lehigh Valley. Lehigh Valley is putting on this big push right now to get a certain type of player. Not that minor league teams usually sign players, but they still want one guy, and that one guy is LeBron James. How are they going about trying to woo the guy who's currently playing in the Eastern Conference Finals and allegedly is not checking social media anyway?
Yeah, I mean, this is blown up huge for the Iron Pigs. A couple weeks ago, they put up a billboard right near their ballpark, Coca-Cola Park, saying, here's our pitch, LeBron to the Iron Pigs. And, it maybe got a little play locally, but then when they put a picture of that billboard on Twitter, it blew up. And I think the team probably already had some plans, beyond just the billboard. But certainly once they got that social media response, they're going all in. So they have the hashtag LV Wants LeBron campaign. They're recruiting fans to send, to post their own video pitches using that hashtag. They've now scheduled a night, June 28th, just before NBA free agency officially begins. A We Want LeBron night where they're giving away LeBron masks and LeBron headbands, and they're going all in on this. So when I visited Lehigh Valley, I talked to their general manager, president, Kurt Landis, who's no stranger to crazy promotions. The Iron Pigs have done a lot of attention-getting things through the years. And I mentioned this in the article, but when you talk to Kurt Landis about this, there's no real sense in talking to him that he knows how ridiculous this is. I'm sure he does know that it's ridiculous, but I think one of the reasons these things are successful is him and the entire front office are just buying into this and really going all out as if they have a chance to land LeBron. And of course, a key aspect of their pitch is that, LeBron is forever compared to Michael Jordan, who's the true greatest of all time. And the Iron Pigs are saying, well, LeBron, you haven't taken a year off to play minor league baseball, a mediocre minor league baseball season, I think they note. And until you put up at least one mediocre campaign in the minor leagues, then Jordan's always going to have that edge over you. So they're really appealing to LeBron's sense of competitiveness and his sense and his desire to reach Michael Jordan at all levels. And so this is not the last you've heard from this. This will be going on through the rest of May, all of June. Check Twitter, follow the Iron Pigs, and I think they're going to have a lot more fun with this.
Michael Jordan, by the way, all of the discussion is always about how bad he was during his time in minor league baseball. But Michael Jordan, when he played in the Arizona Fall League, if you go look up his numbers, actually was really not that bad, which is something that I always like to point out to people because it's become this gag of, nah, man, Michael Jordan, remember when he tried to play baseball? Ha, ha, ha. His numbers are pretty good in the AFL. He batted .252 in Arizona Fall League play, which is against, as we all know, some of the best players in minor league baseball. And a guy who hadn't played baseball since high school just jumped in as a professional in the middle of his outstanding career as the greatest basketball player to ever put on shoes, and then was really good in the AFL. I'm defending his baseball legacy.
No, and I think the AFL is a great point that a lot of people overlook. I overlook most of the time. And, he hit 202 with the AA Birmingham Barons. 202, 3 home runs. Not great numbers, but I think also people forget, AA is really high level, high quality baseball.
Yeah.
And I think to go there and hit above the Mendoza line is amazing in that regard. And if he had stuck with it, I think, not that he would have been a major league star, but I think he actually could have gotten to the major leagues. And that was a strike year, unfortunately. I don't know where the White Sox were in 1994, but who's to say maybe they couldn't have called him up in September just for the publicity that would have resulted in. But alas, there was no September in Major League Baseball that year.
We will never know. One other story from the world of minor league baseball this week, which is a tough one, but the Greensboro Grasshoppers had to bid farewell to Miss Babe Ruth, who was their bat dog for a long time and one of the kind of early trendsetters among the bat dog ranks in minor league baseball. And according to Greensboro, she delivered more than 3,500 baseballs to umpires and retrieved approximately 4,600 baseball bats from Greensboro hitters. She was a black lab who made her debut on August 2nd, 2006. She retired before the end of the 2015 season. Got to hang around as an ambassador at Grasshoppers games, and Ben actually met her during one of those ambassador days back in 2016. And this was, she is an adorable dog. She was 12 years old, passed away from cancer. One of the things that came out of this was seeing how many players reacted to this on social media. I thought was really cool. I mean, we saw like Brent Honeywell tweeted out a remembrance of her and how great of a dog that she was to come across in a minor league career. I thought that was really neat last week. It's a heartbreaking story, but it was really neat to see the way the baseball community reacted to this.
Yeah, because, I mean, the fans love seeing bat dogs, but I think for the front office and the players, it's almost like a coworker, someone you see every day. And I think that really adds a lot to your daily experience to have a wonderful dog, as part of your daily workplace environment. So it really does hit a lot of people very hard. I mean, the fans, of course, will miss seeing her on the field, but for people who are around her every day, that's tough. And the Grasshoppers lost another one of their bat dogs, over the offseason, Master Yogi Berra, who was Miss Babe Ruth's brother. So now Miss Lulu Gehrig, a niece of Babe and Yogi, is the one currently serving as a bat dog. So the Greensboro Grasshoppers still have that tradition going on. But Tyler, you're right. I don't know exactly what team started it. I mean, but the Trenton Thunder were one of the very first with, Chase and Derby and now Rookie, and then the Greensboro Grasshoppers with Miss Babe Ruth and Master Yogi Berra. And for a long time, it was just those two teams doing it. And now we see a trend with it, but you really got to give a lot of credit to Trenton and Greensboro for leading the charge in that and bringing dogs to the ballpark.
All the baseballs you can chase and the bats you can carry wherever you are now, Miss Babe Ruth. And we extend our condolences to the Greensboro Grasshoppers as well. And we'll end on a fun note this week. Last week during the show, we discussed the royal wedding coming up. And we put out a challenge to minor league broadcasters to do an inning on the day of the royal wedding, which was this past Saturday, in a British accent. And if you did, send it our way. We would put it on the podcast. And if we are not men of our word, we have nothing. And so with that, we did actually get some of these. We actually only got one submission. We only got one file. We know there were other teams that did it. So Palm Beach, for example, some of these other teams that got in touch and said that they did it. I think Omaha was another one that was planning on doing it. If you guys hear this and can send us your file from the broadcast, we'll put a clip of it on the show, podcast@milb.com. But we did get one from Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Adam Marco, a previous guest of the Show Before the Show podcast, makes a return appearance with what I got to say is a pretty solid British accent. Like you guys got a chance to listen to this inning in full. It's not bad. Sam put it very well. He's not trying too hard, which I appreciate.
Right. I think British people can be more reserved than like some of the Cockney accents we give them. Or in Ben's case, just saying they say cheerio all the time.
That's the only word I could think of.
Ben then got publicly owned by the British podcast that he once went on to talk about baseball, which is, they didn't teach you any more lingo?
No, they should have. So I'm putting it back on them.
We're blaming you guys.
It's all your fault for not.
Typical American.
Yeah, didn't teach me British, guys.
So without further ado, Adam Marco, the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders on Royal Wedding Day. Here's a clip of the broadcast from Scranton Wilkes-Barre.
Back to the ballpark and more Rail Riders baseball on 1400 The Game and EPA's Fox Sports Radio.
We go to the fifth. It's 9-1 Buffalo with the lead over Scranton Wilkes-Barre. The event that took the world by storm this morning, the Royal Wedding. And fresh off the plane back from London, England, here's Adam Marco.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Very happy to be here and ready to do this fifth inning in an English accent for Benjamin Hill and Sir Tyler Mon from minor league baseball. First pitch is a swing and a foul back in your direction, sir. It's just a little foul. Ryan McBroom, Zach Zana, and LJ Mazzilli to bat here in the inning. And I'm going to do my best to keep up the English accent. As annoying as it might be, I apologize. But the celebration of the Royal Wedding has, as mentioned, taken the world by storm. There's a swing and a miss. It's bollocks by Ryan McBroom. The count now 0-2. The challenge was laid out earlier this week for broadcasters across the industry to try to do an inning in an English accent. The 0-2 toss is a little bit down and in. 1-2 the count on McBroom. He's 0 for 1 with the strikeout. Now, there's a fairly sizable opportunity for my accent to drop into many other dialects. Very well could be Australian, could be Irish. We'll see where it goes. Could really use a 3-up, 3-down inning in the bottom half if fellas will help me out. Just swing and a foul. And the count now 0-2. I'm not sure, quite honestly, if anyone else has accepted this challenge, but I'm game. It's a 9-1 ball game, and when I thought perhaps this might be a little bit absurd, probably missed a let in there. Here's the 1-2 toss. McBroom with the fly ball out towards right field. This has got some carry to it. It is drifting foul. Stellar if the highlight reel had included a home run off the English accent. Count now 1-2. You're still here. You're trying not to laugh, and I appreciate that, sir.
Sort of letting it ride, just seeing where the inning takes itself. I am already caught off guard that this is going to happen in the bottom of the fifth as well. I thought this was, I give you a lot of credit. I thought this was just going to be a half inning.
Well, they said an entire inning. Who am I to go against Mr. Benjamin Hill? Here's a cold strike 3. McBroom down watching, one away in the inning. And trust me, I do take my job very seriously. And I get a little bit of relief by watching the Twitter and seeing the broadcasters from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim doing their pregame show dressed in full Star Wars Stormtrooper regalia.
They kept, and that was last night, I think, they kept a straight face the whole time.
Well, they were wearing helmets, masks.
Oh.
First pitch runs inside, and a 1-ball, no strike count on Zachary Zana. 226 average, 4 homers, 16 runs, batted in. He's 0 for 1 so far today. It's a 9-1 ball game. We've got a look around the International League for you this F inning. It's a foul ball back, and just a shade below our booth. 1 ball, 1 strike, the count. I have done a little bit of research, not only in my own time, trying to play around with an English accent, but to add a few phrases for the show today. Pitch missed inside now. Count taken 2-1 on Zana.
Are we going to get them organically, or Are you going
I'm
to
just
try
not-
to shoehorn them in?
Well, we'll see. See where it goes. The pitch runs in a black for a called strike, and the count now 0-2. Your International League update, there is just one other game being played at the moment. That is Lehigh Valley taking on Syracuse. That's a 4-0 Pigs lead. Here's the 2-2. Zana lofts it out towards left field. This may drop in, and Alford's going to let it bounce. He was taking an indirect track to the ball, and it fell just in front of him. It's a single for Zana, and that'll bring L.J. Mazzilli to the plate.
And to that, I think we can all say cheerio. Obviously.
No,
What else?
That's not just a catch-all phrase.
It
you
is.
can't just say all the time.
Cheerio in Britain is like aloha in Hawaii.
It's like
Well,
prego
yes,
in
yeah.
Italy. They just use it for everything, Sam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It must be something with those island places.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anything that exists on an island, they have one multi-purpose word that they throw around for everything. We all know this is true. This is common knowledge, right, British people? Let us know if we're maybe not accurate with that. Benjamin Hill's on Twitter. He is at Ben's Biz. The blog is bensbiz.mlblogs.com. And Ben was, what's the next road trip is not too far off.
No, mid-June, hitting the Midwest, starting with Lake County and ending in Lansing for the Midwest League All-Star Games. So I'll certainly be talking about that as it comes up in the near future. And in the meantime, there's still a lot more to come from the Northeast.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Tyler.
Final segment of this week's edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. We're wrapping things up on episode number 161. There was a very important note that we did not get to last segment, though, and I believe we still have a guest on the show.
Yes, this is Ben Hill still here. Ben's Biz also still here. I mean,
Ben
that's
just
both
hangs
me.
around, just stands silently staring at Sam through most of the show. But we decided to bring him back in. The whole first segment, Ben was just standing there staring.
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of Sam's work, and I just like to see him in action. But I did want to note for those keeping score at home, and I neglected to say this during my official segment, but Sam is sitting to my left today.
Okay, good to know. So just in case anybody has that official score sheet going on, I feel like that snaps a string. Nah, maybe I'm wrong. I felt like we were on a couple weeks in a row of seats on the right.
There were times when I was consciously thinking about it. Today was not one of those days. So if it snapped a streak, it did so. Although the way the country is going, there will probably be bets in New Jersey soon on exactly where I'm going to be sitting in relation to Ben.
Soon we're going to launch an app. It'll be a beat the streak, but it's just which side of Ben Sam is sitting on. That'll be it.
Get ready, Internet.
MILB.TV, the place to catch all of the best in minor league baseball. Sam, what are you watching on MILB TV this weekend?
Yeah, so this weekend, Inland Empire will be playing Rancho Cucamonga. Again, check the schedule whenever it works for you and there's a game available. Make sure to watch this team. I do think Adele is very exciting to watch, specifically how that power is going to play in the Cal League. Could be really, really cool. Same thing with Brandon Marsh. Just two really tooled up outfielders. Even when they're not hitting, you still want to make sure you're watching just in case they do something crazy in the outfield. And I love players like that when you really don't want to step away because they could do something flashy at any moment. So, now that they're on MILB TV with Inland Empire, you're definitely not going to want to miss that this weekend.
I'm going to go to the International League and the AAA Rochester Red Wings, who have welcomed in Nick Gordon, promoted in the Minnesota Twins organization. They've got a doubleheader coming up on Friday at home against Buffalo, so you might get a chance to watch a lot of Nick Gordon on that day. But they start at 5:05 Eastern for game one of that doubleheader, and then they'll play a second game, which is a makeup from an April game that was postponed, as was everything and everybody on the East Coast and into the Midwest through the month of April. So actually, we do have a lot of doubleheaders across the minor leagues this stretch here in May, when teams that met each other early on this season had so many of those weather games are meeting each other again. So that's been kind of fun over the last week and a half to 2 weeks and extending into June, all of these extra doubleheaders that we weren't expecting. And if you're somebody who wants to sit around and watch full days of baseball, you got a lot of options. And you can catch Nick Gordon and the Rochester Red Wings on MILB.TV. And that will do it for episode number 161 of the Show Before the Show podcast. He's Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Mon. We'll talk to you next week.